Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Show Up Fitness Podcast. Today, we're helping you pass NASM 2026. My name is Chris Hitchko, teacher of trainers for 15 years, owner of Show Up Fitness, trainer for 20. Together, Miss Megan and I.
It's your girl, Megan.
We've helped more than 6,000 people pass this sucker. And that's a significant number because recently, probably one of our coolest stories. And today we're going to help you pass it. We're going to go over some quiz questions, some programming, set you up for success. But before we do that, I want to talk about Mr. Andre because he got his NASM CPT, used our study guide, passed with flying colors, did not have the stress, applied to Lifetime, didn't get hired. Luckily for him and our partnership with Lifetime, the manager said, I take trainers with 3 to 5 years of experience or an SUF CPT. Linked up with us, went through our program. Last Friday, you passed him.
Yeah.
He went to a weekend seminar, gained that confidence, went back in and got hired. And that's really important to understand because 90% of textbook trainers quit within the first year. I did one of the largest surveys in my book, How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer, Volume 2, which has an entire chapter dedicated to NASM, ACE, and ISSA. And I interviewed trainers at Lifetime, Equinox, 24, Crunch, LA Fitness, you name it, internationally as well. 90% are quitting because these textbooks aren't setting you up for success because you need that confidence to train actual people. So I don't want to go off on tangents. I'm the crazy guy online with my belt buckle and I know I'm annoying. That's why we have the angel over here, Miss Megan. How about you tell us your story, how you came across Show Up and how you've helped so many people pass this?
Yeah, it was, I think, 2019, right when COVID was like just in the early parts of it. So I had stopped playing soccer for like a little break. A lot of people have told me, hey, you should become a trainer. And I got gifted, the NASM cert. But for me, being an athlete with everything, I was like, I really want hands-on experience. I was very fortunate that, how going on your phone is, like Show Up Fitness just had popped up on my screen. I live in San Diego. So I went through the program in person, and I actually passed the NASM study guide first before that the NASM test just with the study guide, so then I could focus on the real training aspect with Show Up Fitness. So I passed in less than a week. I think it was like 4 or 5 days, and then had 4 months really of hands-on experience with that.
The first trainer that I've met to charge $500 for a training session. And that confidence comes from learning with proper supervision, which is really important because when you go to the depths of hell, Reddit and Facebook groups, they say, just get certified and go gain experience. And that is not the optimal approach. Here's why. We got a quote from Reddit. First in-person client. I recently started working out as a personal trainer at a commercial gym, and I have my NASM certification. I have my first client this week, and I feel a bit nervous. Experienced trainers, could you please share some advice or tips for this initial meeting? Could you imagine a doctor? I just got my doctorate. I'm going to do my first open heart surgery. Love some pointers on how not to kill someone. No. And that's why trainers aren't respected because we go out there and we try to gain experience and we don't know what we're doing. That trainer, Andre, went to Lifetime and the manager's like, you're too green. You're not going to make it here because you have to sell. You don't learn how to sell in these textbooks. You don't learn the technical skills with programming in these textbooks. The personality, the people skills, maybe even more important than 800 pages. So let's talk about some tips that will set you up for success on passing this in 2026. We did a video, by the way, 2020, 21. I drank a bunch of whiskey. This one's a lot cleaner. So we're going to go through and we're going to help set you up for success because we want you to pass. Megan?
One, of course, like we said, do not read the textbook. It's just going to make you overwhelmed. It's a lot of information. Get the study guide, not just because it's our study guide, but because we've helped so many people pass this thing. Listen to the YouTubes. Just had a comment the other day that someone had just watched my NASM playlist specifically 3 hours before the test. That's all they did, and they passed the test. So listen to the resources that we have. Use the notes to pass this thing as fast as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I'm sure your panties and jockstraps are in a bundle. I got to read the whole book. It's a book. The number one thing that people reach out to me about, I'm not a very good learner through a book. I'm more kinesthetic. I don't know what it is about bodybuilders and people that have worked out, athletes and moms who get it. They reach out. There's a girl the other day who reached out. My son wants to get certified. He's 18. I was looking at the requirements and it didn't make sense. How is he going to be a qualified trainer just by reading a book? So that's why she reached out to us. Your certification, which we have, SUF CPT, you get to ask questions. You get to learn from professionals. We have case examples, avatars. Every month you learn how to draw out an entire month program. So then when you go into the real life scenario and you sit down and you have to sell your services, your confidence is flowing. So the client signs up with you. Then you get them results because you're doing this to help people, not to read a textbook. And these organizations do a great job of getting in front of you. So let me ask, what other resources should people not look at? So what about stuff on YouTube where you have an anecdote from someone saying, I passed and this is what I did. I took these quizzes and I got an 80% online. Quizlet. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of people actually come to us and say, I've got over 80% on all the quizzes. Like, I must be doing good, take the test, and absolutely fail it. And then we have people that have gone through a program that I've actually studied, one-on-one tutor sessions, maybe got like 55, highest 60% on the NASM specific questions, or like on, what was it, the other app you said? Quizlet. But then they pass the actual test. So what does it matter if you pass these other quizzes if you're not going to pass the actual thing?
So let's do a little hypothetical. You got trainer A, trainer B, and we're going to use Andre on this one example. So trainer A reads the entire textbook. This is going to take you probably 6 months minimum if you don't jump off a building because it's so damn confusing. Most people will spend up to a year going through it. You don't gain any experience. You're confused. So you wasted 6 months, a year, when you could have passed this in 30 days. And just like Andre did, went through an actual certification that levels you up in the people skills, the business skills, the competence of programming, assessments, getting people out of pain. So then when you go to a higher end gym, you get hired and you're able to start working towards turning this into a career, because it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a 9 to 5 where you clock in and you clock out and you have clients lined up out the window. No, you need to build that book of business. Time is so precious. The things that just crush me when people reach out, I got this 2 years ago. I studied for 6 months, got so frustrated and down because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was reading this. I'm like, oh man, my friends are telling me I should do this and I'm super active, but I don't know what I'm doing. And this book is making it even more confusing. So then they take another 6 months off. And then you try to take it and their things expired. So you got to pay more money. And then you start studying again and you get frustrated. So you go to YouTube and you see some girl or guy who passed and they say, oh, this is what I did. It worked for me. I highlighted the entire textbook. Your clients aren't going to be quizzing you on what you got in that textbook. You need to be able to take people through workouts safely. And we'll review some programs here. And you use that critical thinking, because textbooks don't set you up for critical thinking in the future. You need to be able to think on the fly. We did a podcast not too long ago with a manager at Lifetime, and I love it because the initial interview, he says, go out on the floor, get a client, train them, come back and let's talk about it. He's not going over how many certs you have. Do you have the confidence to go out there and perform? Because that's what we have to do. So obviously, we're suggesting for you to go out there and get through this as quickly as you can because you came across as too late. We have a certification. You may be asking, which a lot of people do, are you accredited? My question to that is, do you know what accreditation means? When did NASM get accredited? They were founded in 1985 and they got accredited in 2003, 18 years. Does that mean 18 years or certification wasn't accepted? No, it's a whole political bureaucracy, expensive process. One of the first things you need to do, have your certification in process for at least a year. Check for SUF CPT. To have at least 100 CPTs. Check, we've had that. Shout out to Carlos. He was our number one. He's still training at Equinox. 5 years later, he got hired there because he went through our program. It leveled him up, and he is not one of those statistics. So it takes a lot of money. You got to get a legal team, and they got to make sure that you're doing it as they want you to. Some gyms may just want a NASM or an ACE or an ISSA. Great. Get that cert. If a gym specifically says, I want this, you have to respect it. If you want to train at Show Up, you have to work a year at Equinox or Lifetime. You have to have all 3 of our certifications. You have to have an RD and a physical therapist on your team. And then you train a client who's paying anywhere from $200 to $350 per session, and you don't learn a thing about them. You show up and you train them, and you have to do it safely and effectively within the CCA. These textbooks don't set trainers up for success. That's my opinion. I don't work for NASM. I taught at a school that used the NASM curriculum, so that's why we help people pass. This isn't like proprietary information we're stealing and we're talking to people, what's on the test? No, I taught this stuff, and I know what you need to focus on to pass it. That's the most important thing if you cannot get that refund. So Megan, I want to do a little test right now, and I want you to help educate people on those main topics that they need to know. Okay. What's the first thing that comes to your mind and what they should focus on? Tell me everything that you need to know about the OPT model from phase 1 to phase 5, foam rolling and all that bullshit.
Basics, just know that there's 3 levels, 5 phases. So the 3 levels is going to be stabilization, strength, and power. Within that one, easy, phase 1, stabilization, endurance. Phase 2, strength endurance. Phase 3 is going to be, used to be hypertrophy, but it's actually muscular development now. Then we have maximal strength, phase 4, and then phase 5 is power as well.
I was watching a YouTube the other day from someone who had like 1.5 million followers, and he went to a trainer, and it was a qualified trainer. That's what it said in quotations. And she could not pronounce hypertrophy. She couldn't say hypertrophy. She's like, oh, that one word, it's like, that's quality. Imagine going to a doc and he's like, oh, the cuttier thing here. It's the scupula. It's the sculapaka. They can't even pronounce the basic stuff. You need to be competent in the fundamentals. So the OPT model, I like to ask people, who created it? Dr. Clark, physical therapist, great with injuries, rehab, prehab. The book even has a study from Eric Cressy. Eric, shout out to you because your internship, you got to name the 17 muscles of the shoulder. We have that as well. You need to know that to pass our test. He did one of the most monumental studies when it came to looking at the difference between unstable surface training and stable surface training. Our clients want to perform better, move better, look great naked, get out of pain. Pain clients need to be addressed with the right individuals and the professionals. That's why we have physical therapists on our team. When in doubt, refer out. But during this study, he found at the University of Connecticut, that's where I went to school as well, that you are compromising force production when you do things on unstable surfaces. So why are we doing it? If you sprain an ankle, get on a fucking Bosu ball and do some magical shit. It's going to help with that connection with your ankle and your hip, and you're going to rehab better. Great. But your clients don't have these injuries. So why are we doing unstable surface for the entire phase? What are the acute variables that they need to know?
So for phase 1 stabilization, you're looking at 1 to 3 sets. You have 12 to 20 reps, 4-2-1-1 tempo, which, if you guys know, would be eccentric, 4 seconds down, 2-second isometric pause, 1 concentric, and then 1 second pause at the top again, isometric.
So if I'm doing a bicep curl, bam, look at that arm farm. Concentric is coming up. Concentrically accelerating elbow flexion. The definition of a flexion is to decrease the angle. That's concentric. My bicep is shortening. 1 second up. You hold for 2 and you come down for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know some of us aren't the best at math, but 4, 2, 1, 1 tempo. 8 seconds for 12 to 20 repetitions. So you're doing like 2 minutes of work for a squat. So when we go through this programming for stabilization, you're going to see it's a masterpiece. The OPT model has a therapist designing that, and Dr. Clark is amazing, but therapists don't learn about optimization, periodization, programming in PT school. They literally learn maybe a class, maybe talk to therapists. No, we don't learn much about overload and how to properly program. That's why they're doing banded exercises, not optimizing loading, because it's rehab. We have clients who can produce force. So why are we doing it on unstable surfaces? And why are we using a model that is not meant for the general population? It's brilliant marketing, That's why they're a great marketing company, and they can pay off podcasters and people over here. Hey, this gym over here, how about you only accept our certification? Could they hypothetically do that? I don't know. I don't work for NASM. I just like stirring up the bee's nest and pissing people off. But when you have a company who's owned by Ascend Learning, who's owned by Blackstone, why don't you type in how much money they have assets under management? Over $1 trillion. You can market. So you get this pretty little photo, OPT model, and then you put it out there and boom, people are buying into it. OPT model, in my opinion, sucks, but you don't care. You want to pass this. So after a month of being in stabilization, you move up into phase 2, supersets. What is that like?
Supersets. So you're going to have a strength focused exercise followed by a stability one. So if you're looking at like upper body, you could do like a bench press into like a push-up or push-up on the Bosu ball, right? For stability there. For lower body, you're looking at like a squat into a single leg squat. Lower body's a little bit easier. Just make it single leg versus bilateral, unilateral versus bilateral there.
Pull up into TRX row, shoulder press into single leg scaption. Anytime you see that on the exam, always phase 2. You graduate after a month. Each one of these is a mesocycle within periodization. You have macro, big picture, micro, like a micro machine. That's the week. Meso would be the month. So after your second month, we can go to muscular development. Oh boy, this is a beautiful one. Tell me the acute variables.
So acute variables you're looking at there, we're going to have 6 to 12 reps. You're going to be resting for 60 seconds, which I think that's what we're referring to here. And then we're doing sets here of like, it's a normal exercise here that for lower body, upper body, where you're doing like your squats and your bench press, your deadlifts, all that thing. But I think the rest is what we're looking at here.
Yeah, the rest has definitely been debunked. It's not optimal, but you got to know it for the exam. Put your NASM hat on. If you see you're resting for 0 to 60 seconds, that's going to be phase 3. 0 to 90 seconds, that's phase 1. Don't need to know much about the acute variables for phase 2, just the supersets, stable into unstable. 75 to 85% for the intensity for phase 3, and then we graduate into phase 4, which is...
Oh, and I forgot the tempo was 202 for that one as well.
Okay, yeah.
Phase 4, so we're looking at maximal strength here. This one, the tempo is going to be XXX, which a lot of people kind of get confused by. It just means explosive. But when we're doing this here, the reps you're going to see is 1 to 5. And so it's not like you're doing it really fast for some of these things. It's more like you're just trying to move that heavy weight a little bit faster, but it's not always going to look fast.
So if you're coming down eccentrically, controlled, and then when you press up, you're pressing as fast as you can, but because the weight is really heavy via the force velocity curve, heavy weight means the velocity is going to be low. If it's lightweight, the velocity can be high, and that's what we see in phase 5. So what's unique about that?
Phase 5, it's going to be another superset. So you're looking at like a heavy with an explosive. So a lot of times when it's upper body, you're looking at medicine balls. They love throwing them. And if it's lower body, you're looking at jumps or let's say plyos or like reactive training drills, things like that.
When we quiz people, and we've done podcasts on this, and if you want to get quizzed and tutored, that's going to help you build your confidence. But we don't ask you multiple choice questions because if you learn that way, when you go to the exam, you're programmed to think, okay, forehands, and you get all nervous, and then you start losing your shit, and your heart rate goes through the roof, and cortisol is blunting your brain, you're not remembering shit, and all of a sudden you have an anxiety attack and you fail. You don't want to fail. You want to pass this as quickly as you can if you can't get a refund. So you need to be controlled and confident going in there. So when we quiz you, I'm going to say, tell me about the acute variables within phase 3. What is the rest period? What is the tempo for phase 1? Give me an example of a superset for phase 5. You need to be able to talk through that. And when you're confident in being able to, without stuttering and think, is it a back squat into a back flip? No, you need to be able to, phase 5, you're going to be doing a jump into a back squat, 1 to 5 reps. Intensity for the back squat, 85 to 100%. The intensity for the power exercise, 30 to 45, or 10% of your body weight. The rest period, 3 to 5 minutes. They're not going to quiz you like, is it 90 seconds? Is it 14 seconds? Is it 2 minutes? It's going to be very specific. We start with the OPT model because it gives us a lot of data points on how ready you are. And so then we'll start maybe bouncing around within the OPT model and naming exercises. So let's go to phase 1. Name an exercise.
A stability bot Squat, curl to press.
Can't even say it seriously. So if we're doing a squat, curl, press, what is the agonist at the hip? That's a question I'm going to ask you. So you need to be able to understand what is agonist. Prime mover. At the hip, we have extension. That's going to be your glutes. At the knee, it's going to be your quads because of knee extension. When you do a curl, what is the main mover? Your bicep brachii. When you're pressing overhead, what is the main mover? Your deltoids. What is happening at the scapula when you are pressing upward? Upward rotation. That's a forced couple. Upper trap, lower trap, serratus anterior. Being able to talk through that shows that you understand the material within the guide that's going to help you pass this. So there's a lot of vocab words that we'll go over, but I want to look at the exercise to see if you know where they should be going. So Megan, if I were to do a bench press into a stability ball press, where would that go?
Phase 2, strength endurance.
And then we're going to ask you, what is the synergist when you do a bench press? You need to know it's your triceps. You need to know that the stabilizers for all upper body exercises, your rotator cuff, your sits. You should know that. They're not going to quiz you on what the sits muscles are. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis. One of the things that we quiz you on when you go through our cert, you need to know those 17 muscles and link up with a physical therapist. And if you go to a physical therapist and tell him his traps are overactive and his adductor, he needs a foam roll and stretch or he's going to die for 20 to 40 seconds, he's probably not going to work with you. That's why a lot of therapists don't respect trainers because we are not able to think critically with the most up-to-date science. So when it comes to the OPT model, phase 3, you're going to do a lat pull down. What plane of motion is that in?
Well, if you're doing it this one, we're going to be frontal.
You need to know the definition of the planes of motion. Can you tell us them?
Yeah, so when we're in the sagittal plane, you're going like this. There's going to be an imaginary line bisecting the body into like left and right halves. So think going up, down, back and forth. We're in the frontal plane. Think of it like that imaginary line going this way. So I can't go forward. I can't go back. I'm going like sideways here. So we have abduction going away from the body, adduction going back. For the sagittal plane, forgot for going up, flexion, going back here, extension. And then last one, we're going to have transverse. That's going to divide the body into like superior above and inferior below halves. So you're looking at pretty much anything rotation, which that's all they're going to say really for the book there.
In my book, I have flashcards, and those are terms you can just write out, and you'll be able to, just memorize those definitions. If I were to stand up right now and I'm facing the camera, my back, I cannot move backwards. Any exercise that I can do in that plane is frontal. So bringing my arms out, bringing my arms down, which is AB and adduction. I cannot move forward because my face is smashed. My big nose is going to be up against the wall. I cannot go forward. Now, if I were to stand up and look at Megan with the wall against my shoulder and the wall crushes me on this side, like we're on an escalator or going through a very small tunnel, any movement that we can do within that plane. We're sagittal creatures, running, jumping, sprinting, lunging, squatting. Those are all sagittal planes of motion. The definitions they could ask you, which of the following is an imaginary line bisecting the body into superior and inferior halves, and they'll have frontal. They may even throw like coronal, which is another name for frontal, sagittal, and transverse. That would be a definition for transverse. So that's what you need to know for the acute variables and the exercises with agonist, synergist, and then the term antagonist. What is that?
Antagonist is going to be the opposite of the prime mover that we're looking at there.
So if I do an overhead press, my agonist would be my deltoids. What is the opposite? Antagonist. Think of Romeo and Juliet. I think it was like Tybalt and the bad guy in that one. So the opposite is bad. So antagonist, think of it as just the opposite movement. Military press, the agonist, deltoid. So the opposite would be a lat pull down, which would be my lats. Stabilizers will always be your sits. For lower body, it's going to be your TVA, transverse abdominis. So that's really what you need to know for the OPT model. Remember, when it comes to stretching, always foam roll and stretch. You have to do foam rolling or you die. And then for the phase 2, 3, and 4, you do active isolate, which is going to be holding for 1 to 2 seconds. And then dynamic for phase 5. It's just like sport-specific stuff. Your client's doing a prisoner squat. Where would this go in the OPT model? Phase 5. So then we also need to, did I miss anything with the OPT model?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. You might just see like them asking, where's your client going to be in this phase? Like what your ideal client,
So beginners, phase 1 for roughly 30 days, strengthen ligaments and tendons, get on a BOSU ball, do weird shit to a stability ball, foam roll, static stretch. And then when you graduate for a month, you choose either phase 2, 3, or 4. And then if you want to go to phase 5, you can. Another big portion is the assessment process. So what are you going to see for the exam is going to be everything based off of the Jonda approach, which is a physical therapist back in the day. And he had some good revolutionary thought experiments, but today it doesn't really pan out. But you need to know this for the exam. So you have upper cross syndrome, you have lower cross syndrome, and pronation distortion syndrome. Try
Just
this.
now, pes planus distortion. Right.
Okay, there we go. So correct me.
It's pes planus now.
There we go. So you got to know the proper. It used to be pronation distortion, pes planus. Have a little fun over the holidays sometime and tell an Uncle Fred, you got upper cross syndrome. See how that goes. Uncle Fred's going to knock you out with a left cross. It doesn't sound good. So why are we trying to scare people? Oh, your lats are overactive. We have to foam roll and stretch. And if we don't do that, you're going to get injured. There's no science to support that. We're scaring people with a lot of this stuff. You have lower cross syndrome. Your psoas is overactive. You have glute amnesia. You have text neck. Why didn't cavemen have cave neck when it was fire and they're over here and they're trying to get warm? They didn't blow out their necks. So this stuff is all fear-based. And what happens, unfortunately, is trainers scare their clients to sign up for a package. Clients scared shitless because they now have upper cross syndrome. Like, oh, I don't want that crazy thing. Fix me. And then you spend a month on a stability ball, foam rolling and stretching. And guess what? The client's like, well, I just spent $1,200. That sucked. They're not going to tell you that. They're gonna be like, I'm going out of town. Let me get back to you. Or it's just it's out of my budget right now. It's kind of expensive. No, they didn't get the results. Clients show up because they want someone to confidently take them through a workout, not get hurt, and you are their expert. So if they have a question, they come to you and you give them the answer. They're not going to say, Mr. Trainer, okay, ready for this one? My shoulder hurts. Is it my supraspinatus? Is it my teres major? Is it my ACL or my inconius? Which one is it? No, you need to be able to think on the fly with the right information. So we just spent a big block of time on the OPT model. The next one's going to be those overactive, underactive muscles. Together, you could see maybe 30 or 40 questions. So if you're not confident in those meat and potatoes for the exam, then it doesn't matter how long you spend in the other chapters because you're not acing the big blocks. So when it comes to the overactive, underactive stuff in the assessment process, what do people need to know?
You need to know like the characteristics of them and like what you do to them. So overactive muscles, they're going to be known as like short and tight muscles that you want to lengthen, elongate, and stretch. SMR, self-myofascial release, that we talked about before, foam roll and stretch with that. Underactive is going to be weak and lengthened, and you're going to want to strengthen them. Once again, these are going to be in the phase 1 stabilization, so strengthen them at a 4-2-1-1 tempo. And then with that is making sure not only do you know what these muscles are, so like if we were to say gastrocnemius, we know it's going to be overactive. Can you point them out? You might see some questions where it's like, all right, this muscle's overactive. What exercise should I do to strengthen it as well too? Those might be a little bit harder ones, but pretty much the basics, just knowing, is it overactive or underactive? The terminology is big because sometimes people will say, hey, I didn't see overactive, underactive. Well, did you see, is it short, tight muscle? Did you see that you need to lengthen it? Do you see that you need to strengthen it? Those are really key parts to it, I would say.
You can go on Reddit and people will divulge a lot. And then that's where we kind of do a little research to see, okay, this person, they didn't see a lot of this, they didn't see a lot, but you also have to realize that how the mind works. So if you study the entire textbook and you come across some questions on nutrition or cardio and you didn't study that much on it, that's going to stick out in your brain. That's just how the brain works. So you have to be careful when you take one person, user 3814, says, oh, this is what you need to do. Have they helped 6,000 people pass it? Focus on the big blocks. Know those muscles. Pec major, overactive. Pec minor, overactive. Upper traps, overactive. VMO, where is it? Your teardrop, underactive. 4-2-1-1 tempo. You got to foam roll the overactive ones. Gastroc and soleus. You're going to foam roll for 20 to 40 seconds. And you're going to static stretch 20 to 40 seconds. And you're going to activate the weak one. So your anterior tib. You want to do some 4-2-1-1 tempo on that one. So that's the process that you have to go through when it comes to those muscles. And you're doing the overhead squat assessment for 20 repetitions, 5 anteriorly, 5 on both sides laterally, 5 posteriorly. And so when you're on the posterior side, you're looking at what's happening at the ankles. On the anterior side, you're looking at what's happening at the knees, dynamic knee valgus. Don't ever say that to anyone. Here's a quick little test that you can do. Find someone who has dynamic knee valgus, foam roll their adductors, strengthen their glutes with a 4-2-1-1 tempo, and then do a stability ball squat curl press and see how that works and how long that takes. Versus a good coach, she had knee valgus, come to the side of their knees, draw it out, work on the motor unit recruitment and the motor processing of just learning the proper technique. That's what's called competency, movement competency. That's what we're focusing on. See which one's more efficient. Instead of foam rolling their calves for 15 minutes, why not just put some wedges behind their ankles because they don't have the optimal dorsiflexion? Those are things that we teach within our soft tissue certification and our partnership with Lifetime. They prefer our certification because we empower trainers. Instead of foam rolling, sitting back and just enjoying life for 5 minutes, why don't you do some soft tissue work? Get into the gastrocnemius, get into the QL, get into the upper traps. We can't manipulate the joints, but trainers can do a lot, and those are things that we teach within that soft tissue certification. We got 3 of them. You're going to get CEUs, but you're really going to level yourself up from a confidence standpoint because with the soft tissue cert, you learn to link up with a physical therapist and you get them on your team. With the nutrition certification that we offer, you link up with a registered dietitian on your team so you can charge more and you can turn your passion for fitness into a career. I love tangents. Let's get back into the book because I know you're freaking out. You're like, this guy with the belt buckle has giant biceps and he's pissing me off. Megan's so sweet. Chris, you're an asshole. Sorry, back to the information. Overactive, underactive. What about tests that they could be doing?
Tests. Oh, so we have performance tests versus cardio tests. So know the difference between those. So cardio, you've probably seen like the Rockport test, the walk 1.5 mile test, and you also have the VT1, VT2 threshold, which that's like the talk test. That one's kind of hard when you get into like the little things and the acute variables about that one. Just know that they're cardio tests versus like performance. You're going to see more like a squat, bench press, push-ups you'll see for endurance. You could see jumps, so we're looking at vertical going up, broad jump going that way. And then you can also see like the left or like agility test as well too.
The left is what type of test? And it's a subjective information, objective information, a static test or a performance test. That's what that would look like for answering that. Talking about subjective and objective, when you're doing the PARQ, Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire, if the subject gives you information, I'm a lawyer, that's subjective. If the personal trainer obtains information, that's objective, such as blood pressure. So what are some things we need to know about blood pressure?
Blood pressure, we want to look at what's normal one. So we're looking at 120/80. And then what would be considered high or elevated, aka hypertension. So you're looking at 140/90. I know that there's like phases for pre-hypertension and all that, but just know the basics for that. And then you won't really probably see this, but the top number being systolic and the bottom number being diastolic. And so the top one going to be when you're the blood that's being pushed through the arteries and it's the pressure when your heart's contracting versus the bottom one going to be when it's at rest.
Upper chambers are called the atriums, lower chambers, ventricles. All arteries go out, all veins go in. The pulmonary vein is the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. Pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. SA node is the pacemaker of the heart. And stroke volume, what's that?
Stroke volume, that's just the total amount of blood that's going to be pumped out with each contraction there.
If you want to go and read chapter 2, 3, or 4, whatever the hell that is, or you can just memorize what we just told you right there, and that's all you're going to see for that stuff. Let's talk about nutrition a little bit. What do we need to know?
Nutrition, just the basics. So know our macronutrients versus micronutrients. So macro going to be the big ones. We're looking at protein, carbs, and fats. Know the amount of calories that are going to be for that one. So when we have protein, protein and carbs, we're looking at 4 calories per gram there. For fat, you're looking at 9. And for alcohol, we're going to have 7. And then for that, also the percentage that you're looking at, AMDR, it's going to be the acceptable macronutrient distribution range. So you're looking at the percentage of a normal person would have for a day. So carbs is going to be the main source that you're getting from there, 45 to 65%. Fat is going to be 20 to 35%. And then protein is going to be 10 to 35%.
You could be a carnivore head, and you may be thinking, my clients need 50% protein. I don't give a shit what you think. Put that NASM hat on and answer it that way. Very creatively how they design their exam, because you're probably not going to see a ton on nutrition or a ton on performance. Wonder why? Because they're a great marketing company. So when you leave, you're like, wow, I didn't get that much on nutrition. I'm going to go get another certification. And then you spend another 6 months in a book. Link up with an RD. That's the best thing that you can do. RDs don't look at trainers who call themselves nutritionists in a positive light. So how do you overcome that? You link up and say, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a qualified nutrition coach and I can give a lot of guidance, but I don't give out food plans. And I know how to pronounce dietitian. It's with a T, not a C. Those little things are going to get you in the door so you can build your confidence and your team. That's what's going to set you up for success. You don't need to know much about nutrition. Those ranges, yes, macro versus micro vitamins and minerals, water as well. What do we need to know about water?
Water, we're looking, I don't know, I forgot.
So for water, you need to know
3.0?
13 cups for males, 9 cups for females. And that's pretty much it. They're not going to get into electrolytes. Again, out of our scope. They keep it very, very simple. Don't need to look at that chapter at all. Performance, same thing. They're not going to get too deep in that because they want you to go with their PES. PES versus the CSCS. Ask 10 strength coaches which one's better. And you're going to see which one's an actual qualified certification. That's the CSCS, of which in 2030, you have to have a degree in kinesiology. I got that because I wanted to put it on my book because it's actually respected. Having a degree in kinesiology, having a CSCS, that's stuff that people and other professionals are going to look at in a higher regard. Performance enhancement specialist. Yeah. Anywho, when we look at other topics, we got the vocab words. What are some vocab words that maybe we're missing?
All the inhibitions. So you're looking at reciprocal inhibition, altered reciprocal inhibition. You have synergistic dominance. You also have relative flexibility. BMI.
The body's taking the path of least resistance. You got to know that for relative flexibility. All flashcards that we have in my book. And speaking of that, I want to ask a couple questions in here just to kind of give you a teaser. So there's a whole entire chapter dedicated to this stuff, but the main part of the book is how to program properly, how to get hired at good gyms, how to go through resume development, what the interview questions are going to be like. And then we have numerous case examples from trainers who have been doing this for numerous years, and you're going to learn about what they've done for success. So let's start with question number 8. Let's look at the medicine ball oblique throw. Your client cannot achieve triple extension. Which of the following would be the best regression? Single leg scaption, prone iso ab, a reverse crunch, or a bird dog? What is the right answer?
That would be reverse crunch.
Why?
And so when you're looking in that, this is going to be core exercises or AKA like ab exercises for this. You're looking at what's happening there. And so when we're doing the medicine ball throw, we're looking at the spine's doing a lot of movement. It's kind of be explosive and fast. So when we regress it to like the strength phase, now we're looking at minimal movement, so flexion extension. So we see that with the reverse crunch versus stabilization. The most regress would be when your spine's not moving. So that floor or that prone iso ab would also be like AKA a plank, or the bird dog would be in that one.
So triple extension, it's going to be your glutes, it's going to be your hamstrings, and it's also going to be plantar flexion. Triple flexion is going to be flexion at the hip, the knee, as well as dorsiflexion. Let's take a look at one other question from here so you can get an idea with the overactive, underactive stuff. And I also designed this for other certs too. So if you need to pass ACE or ISSA, it's all the same. Let's take a look at which muscles are most likely short if a client demonstrates an arching lower back during the overhead squat assessment. Short, tight, overactive, all the same. They may just use one. Another question, they could use another. Psoas major and semimembranosus, hip flexor and gluteus maximus, sartorius and gracilis, and hip flexor and bicep femoris.
So that one would be hip flexor and bicep femoris. When you're looking at these ones, like we like to do, like we said, overactive, underactive, kind of just take those ones out first. So when I see gluteus max, I already know it's underactive. I take that one out. When you look at the other ones, they'll say hamstring complex, but when we look at the most bilateral one, so our bicep femoris there, that would be overactive versus our semis on the inside would be underactive.
Yeah, so if you feel behind your leg, the lateral muscle right there, that's your bicep femoris. The 2 guitar strings on the medial side, those are your semis. Those are underactive, lateral, overactive, foam roll, stretch, and then you're going to strengthen the weak ones. So it's going to just set you up for success on passing it. We want to go over a quick little program, take just a few minutes to help you understand some other vocab words. Let's take us through one of them. Let's just go through one of them real quick.
Okay, so for this one, we have John Doe. His goal is muscle gain, phase 3 muscular development. We're warming up for a while. We're going to foam roll our calves, our TFL, thoracic spine, active stretch, dynamic stretch. Then we're doing activation drills, cable lift, cable chop, balance, single leg, Romanian deadlift. It's a long time before we get into the resistance training. From there, we're looking at barbell bench press, incline dumbbell chest press, and 2 push-ups. This is going to be in phase 3 muscular development. So we're looking at that horizontal loading there. So doing all the sets there. Now, the funny thing about this one is we have 4 sets, 10 reps, not so bad, but the rest here we're looking is at 30 seconds here.
Is that really going to optimize if you want a giant chesticle on your front side here? Doing 4 sets of the first one, 30 seconds rest. So you hit 135, you're not going to be able to add weight because you're only resting 30 seconds. And you do another set, another set, another set. Then you go to incline, 4 rounds of that. And then you're doing push-ups, 4 rounds. And then we go to the next circuit.
The next one, same thing. We're going to have pull-ups and then to a seated cable row, seated lat pull down, same exact sets and reps, 4 by 10, 30-second rest there.
When you hear some of these exercises, your mind should be going, what's the agonist? What's the synergist? Where should it go in the OPT model? Phase 2, 3, and 4, that's going to be the strength portion. All of those are going to be in that strength component aspect of phase 3, which is the muscular development. And then at the end, you're going to find what exercise the client wants to do. What are they doing?
Punching bag.
And then you end off on more foam rolling and stretching and then 5 minutes of cardio. So when you look at this program, the reason I think it's kind of funny, because I've been a trainer for 20 years and I've never foam rolled and stretched for 10 to 20 minutes. The warm up, 5 to 10 minutes. The cool down, 5 to 10 minutes. You're foam rolling and stretching for 30 seconds per overactive muscle. Do you think your clients are going to want to pay you $200 an hour for spending 30% of the workout warming up and cooling down? What about the pump? Is your client going to feel empowered? I don't even know what the hell this is, because where's your shoulder? Is it a full body workout or is it just chest and back? Could you do a chest and back workout? Yeah, it's fine. But what we design with physical therapists, with doctors of kinesiology, we have a team and we look at what's going to be the most practical for a trainer. And that's why we developed the CCA. Take a core movement pattern. What are your client's goals? So this person is a male or female?
Male, John Doe.
He wants to get jacked. So you take that first core pattern, which would be a horizontal push, you do a bench press, you complement it with a pull-up, because that's going to be a pull pattern. And then you do something he wants to work on. You want some abs, great. An accessory, you do some ab work. Do that for 3 rounds. You get into the next circuit, you do another push into a pull, and let's do some bicep curls. 3 rounds. The last one, add in some legs. You're going to do some back squat, into a military press, into some tricep extensions. So you have this plug and play system where it's a full body, it's condensed, but you're getting more volume. You're getting more bang for your buck, and it teaches you to think critically. Because if this is your program that you have, and you go into the gym and you're reading right out of the book, and the bench press is taken, what do? Trainers go, the clients can sense that. So why are they going to invest in you if they can smell your imposter syndrome because you don't know what the hell you're doing? So you need to be able to look at a bench press and go, oh, it's Equinox. It's 5 o'clock. We don't have to bench press. We could do incline. We could do loaded push-ups. We could do another chest movement and just take that variable or that machine or the exercise and apply the variables that are needed within the client's scope and what their capabilities are. We don't try to dilute the information. We provide so you're empowered, so you can be in an environment and succeed. Our cameraman back here, he's a stud, went to Equinox. The gym's constantly packed. And if you try to do one of these programs, stability ball, squat, curl, press, stability ball, row, single leg, scaption, bicep curl, and you got to do this giant circuit, that equipment may not be available. So where do you go? What do? You have to be able to confidently navigate the gym. That's what your clients want. And especially as we evolve into an era with more AI, the industry is not saturated. It's saturated with textbook trainers. When you're a qualified trainer and you're having an assessment with someone and they have discomfort and you're able to screen them and say, you know what, let me do some soft tissue on this because I can definitely help. But if it's out of my scope, I work with a physical therapist. Let me get you in contact with them. Actually, let me film this and send it to them and get a reply back pretty quickly. That client goes, holy crap, that's really impressive. I understand why you charge $150, $250, $350, because you are a competent professional and you have a team. The future of success when it comes to trainers, teams, continuing education, hands-on learning, not more textbooks. When was the last time you went to a hands-on learning seminar? We offer them twice a month with our partnership with Lifetime. They prefer SUF CPTs because they're the most competent, qualified coaches out there. If you want to level up, check out my book, get the study guide. We have plenty of free information on YouTube, also on our podcast. With our certification, SUF CPT, we guarantee you will pass NASM, ACE, or ISSA 30 days. You move into our program, live calls, you get to talk to professionals, learn how to program, level up your confidence with anatomy, the assessment process. So then when you pass it, you have experience. You can go out there to the best gyms. We are recognized globally. We're going to be the fastest certification to get accredited. We're right on path to do it in less than 10 years. NASM did it in 18. ACE did it, I think, in 18 as well. ISSA was smart because they had a bunch of money bought by Tailspin, and they just bought a certification that had the accreditation already. So when it comes to the political landscape, you want to turn your passion for fitness into a career. The longer that you wait and you're not in the trenches learning by doing with proper supervision, the likelihood for success is just against you. And I don't want you to fail. I want you to be successful. That's why I wrote my book. Most importantly, big biceps are better than small ones. Belt buckle trainer, check it out. Have a good one.